Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating conversation with Harvard professor and behavioral scientist Arthur Brooks. We're going to explore his scientifically grounded blueprint for finding true happiness and, more importantly, how to unlock this modern meaning crisis we're all seeing. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything quote unquote right, but you still feel a bit empty, well, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention to the frameworks we're about to cover. So, here's our agenda for today. We'll start with the actual definition of happiness, then move into the 3 macronutrients you need to achieve it, and identify the false idols standing in your way. After that, we'll look at how technology is fueling a meaning crisis, why suffering is actually necessary, and finally, the ultimate real-world risk you need to take. All right, let's kick things off with section 1, the definition of happiness and escaping the feeling trap. We have to start with this massive misconception. It's this idea that happiness is a constant, joyful feeling we just have to stubbornly hold on to. Honestly, that is where almost everyone goes completely astray. As the quote goes, the pursuit of pleasure does not lead to happiness. It leads to rehab. See, our brain's limbic system simply isn't built for constant joy. Actually, negative emotions like fear, anger, disgust, and sadness, they exist fundamentally to keep us alive and safe from danger. Chasing endless hedonic feelings, that's a primal urge that often ends in literal destruction. You just can't expect your brain to feel perfectly happy 24/7. Moving right along to section 2, the 3 happiness macronutrients, the blueprint for fulfillment. To truly understand happiness, you really have to look at it like food. I mean, you wouldn't just eat one type of food and expect to be perfectly healthy, right? Well, happiness consists of 3 specific essential macronutrients: enjoyment, satisfaction, and meaning. These absolutely have to be balanced in your life. Yet, behavioral science tells us that most of us are walking around completely missing at least one of these. So let's break down exactly what each of these means. First up, there is a critical difference between mere pleasure and true enjoyment. Looking at the left side, we have pleasure. It's often solitary, highly addictive, and lives right there in our primal limbic system. Think of mindlessly scrolling on a screen or eating junk food all by yourself. But on the right side, we have enjoyment. Enjoyment requires taking a pleasurable activity and adding other people and memory to it. That elevates the entire experience into your prefrontal cortex. Basically, if you're doing something pleasurable alone, you are likely missing out on true enjoyment. And that builds directly into the second nutrient, satisfaction. Check out this equation. Satisfaction equals your haves divided by your wants. Behavioral science proves that we all suffer from something called the arrival fallacy. It's that false belief that once we finally achieve a specific goal, we're going to be permanently blissful. But spoiler alert, it never works that way. To truly maintain satisfaction, we have to actively manage the denominator, our wants, rather than just blindly and constantly trying to accumulate more haves in the numerator. Finally, we reach meaning. Meaning is the absolute most critical element of the 3, and it is exactly what's tragically missing from the lives of so many anxious and depressed people today. It breaks down into understanding 3 things: why things happen, which is coherence; why you act the way you do, which is purpose; and why your life actually matters, which is significance. Without this piece of the puzzle, those other 2 nutrients just aren't going to be enough. All right, let's dive into section 3, identifying your false idol. The distraction game. So what actually derails us from that perfect macronutrient balance we just talked about? Well, the answer lies in our false idols. Take a second and ask yourself, what is your false idol? Drawing on Thomas Aquinas' 13th century philosophy, we learn that every single one of us is beguiled by a specific idol that secretly dictates our life's pursuit. And here's the kicker. If you don't know what yours is, it's just going to silently distract you from genuine fulfillment. Here they are: money, power, pleasure, and fame. When Arthur Brooks plays this game with his Harvard MBA students, he asks them to eliminate the ones they care about the least. By crossing them off one by one, you reveal the specific idol that beguiles you. For example, maybe you crave the comfort and peace of just being left alone? Well, that means your idol is pleasure. Or maybe you desperately seek to earn love and prestige, making your idol fame. Recognizing this? It's a real game changer. Moving on to section 4, technology and the meaning crisis, the left brain trap. What's really fascinating about our modern misery is how our very environment fundamentally forces us away from the meaning we so desperately need. Our brains process reality in 2 very distinct ways. The left hemisphere handles complicated information, things like engineering, screens, and technology. Meanwhile, the right hemisphere is built for complex mystery, meaning, romantic love, and hope. But here is the massive problem staring us right in the face. By checking our phones over 200 times a day, we trap ourselves entirely in the left hemisphere's complicated engineering. We are literally starving the right hemisphere, which is where complex mystery and meaning actually live. We aren't even giving ourselves the mental downtime to ask the big why questions of life anymore. And because they're completely numbed by these screens, many young people end up adopting a highly performative, grievance-based activism. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum it's on, by the way, we see it everywhere. They do this simply to feel a spark of aliveness in a hot, angry, emotional state. It's really just a desperate cry for meaning in a society that's kind of forgotten how to provide it. That brings us to Section 5, Why We Need Suffering, Escaping the Matrix of Comfort. Okay, to break out of this digital numbness, we have to fundamentally reframe how we view discomfort in our modern world. I want you to basically burn this equation into your memory. Suffering equals pain multiplied by resistance. While sensory and emotional pain are absolutely inevitable for our survival, and honestly, they show us that we're fully alive, suffering is not. Suffering explodes when we take that natural pain and multiply it by our relentless mental resistance to it. So how do we actually apply this? First, we have to accept pain as evidence of being a human who is fully alive. Second, yes, it's totally okay to manage physical pain, but we have to drop the mental resistance to it. And finally, we've got to view hardship as a direct path to complex meaning. By embracing non-resistance, which is a core truth you'll find in traditions ranging from Buddhism to Christianity, we effectively reduce our suffering and can actually find the sweetness in our everyday struggles. Finally, we reach Section 6, the ultimate real-world risk, giving your heart away. Ultimately, prioritizing superficial comfort just places us in this dystopian, matrix-like simulation. True meaning requires stepping out of that comfort zone and taking a massive real-world risk. The greatest, most rewarding entrepreneurial risk you can ever take isn't raising venture capital to build a huge tech startup. No, it's stepping into the complex right hemisphere mystery of romantic love and genuine human connection. Giving your heart away and risking rejection is literally the ultimate enterprise of life. But instead of doing that, we're currently facing a huge modern threat, a love depression. Technology and screen culture have inadvertently triggered a massive decline in romance, alienating us from each other and stripping the beautiful, necessary, and complex messiness away from courtship. We're hiding from the exact risk that makes life worth living. Which leaves us all with a really profound final thought to ponder today. Will you stay in the comfortable, numbing simulation of your screen, safely trapped in your left hemisphere? Or are you willing to step out, drop your resistance, take the beautiful, painful risk of real human connection, and finally become fully alive? Well, that's the choice we all have to make today.